Hello everyone! Before delving into our trig chapter, let's cover some of the vocab we're going to use when talking about trig graphs. Here is a sample trig graph. That is, a graph of a trigonometric function, like sine, cos, or tan. The vocab we're going to be covering is the period of a function, the amplitude of a function, the phase shift of a function, and the vertical shift. Let's start with the period. The period is the time it takes for the function to do a complete revolution, that is, how long it takes for the wave to repeat. Over here, we see that when we start at this x value, or this y value, our wave goes up, down, back up, and then returns to the original position after 4 pi units. So our period is 4 pi. Remember, even though at this position we have the same y value as our starting position, the wave is not complete. The wave is only finished at 4 pi. Now, the amplitude. The amplitude is the distance from the top point of the crest to the baseline of the function. That's our amplitude here. If we take our baseline, our y value here to be 5, and the y value here to be 8, our amplitude is 3 for this function. Now the phase shift. We see that for this graph, we know it's either a sine or a cos function, but at x is equal to 0, our graph hasn't been perfectly aligned with the y-axis, like this. Instead, it's shifted off or moved slightly to the left, so it looks like this instead. Moving a graph to the right or left like that is called a phase shift. On the other hand, a vertical shift is moving our graph vertically, up or down. Over here, our graph has been vertically shifted by 5 units upwards, because the baseline for this graph is 5, when generally the baseline for our trig graphs is 0. In the next lesson, we'll figure out how to find out all of these values from looking just at the function itself. Let's try a quick example. Here's our graph. It appears to be a graph of our tangent function. Let's try to find the period and the vertical shift and the phase shift for this graph. Try this on your own now. Okay, let's go over it. Remember, the period is the amount of time it takes for the graph to repeat itself. Over here, we see that our graph goes from, this should be x is negative pi over 4, if it wasn't clear. It goes from x is negative pi over 4 to x is pi over 4 before repeating. So, its period is pi over 2. Let's look at the vertical shift. The baseline for this graph appears to be y is equal to 3 instead of y is equal to 0 as usual. So it's been vertically shifted upwards by 3 units. Now let's look for a phase shift. Since our graph is centered around x is equal to 0, like it should be, there is no phase shift.